Hello and welcome. I'm Millicent Walker. Tonight, gunmen killed 26 people in Adamawa and Kaduna states as suspected Boko Haram terrorists also raided to Kushe village in Borno state, killing at least 4 people. Former Edo State Governor Adams Oshiomhole is affirmed new national chairman of the All Progressives Congress as delegates from Imo and Delta states engage in free-for-all at National Convention. Tonight as well, we examine recent cases of suicide bombings in Nigeria and how terrorists lure minors to take up suicide missions in the northeast. And President Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe escapes assassination attempt following an explosion at a political rally in Bulawayo.
On business news tonight, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies agreed to share oil production increase the day after decision to raise output.
And on sports news tonight, 10-man Germany survive early scare from Sweden with a hard-fought 2-1 victory and remain in contention for a place in the round of 16.
We begin tonight from Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria, where no fewer than 21 people have been reported killed and several others injured in Demsa local government area following a night raid on Dawayan village. According to the locals, the attackers are suspected to be herdsmen who have been terrorizing Newman, Demsa and Giria local government areas.
Herdsmen are reported to have attacked Dowaya, a village in Demsa local government area of Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria, at about 8 p.m. on Friday. According to the villagers, the overnight raid left at least 21 people dead. 18 dead bodies were found in Dowaya and have since been buried. 3 others are believed to have died in a Numan hospital. The marauding herdsmen are alleged to have been terrorizing Numan, Demsa and Gire local government areas, usually leaving a trail of death and destruction. Residents of Dowaya say they had gathered to mourn the death of a member when disaster struck on Friday night. A former senator representing Southern Adamawa, Senator Grace Bent, has condemned the attack.
I am afraid, I'm worried, if something is not done quickly. We cannot sleep with our 2 eyes closed. Throughout the night yesterday, people were outside their homes, and just hearing gunshots, and the village is being burnt.
Survivors of the attack are seen moving around their destroyed homes. The village head gives a clearer picture.
We had gathered for the wake of one of us who just died when we heard gunshots at about 8 p.m. The herdsmen started shooting and burning our houses. In the process, 7 members of my family were killed and some visitors who came for the wake. We learned of this attack earlier, but no security men were deployed to our area.
Meanwhile, the district head of Dong laments that his people have been abandoned to face the attacks on their own, alleging that security agents no longer respond to their calls.
The Fulani people have already told us that after their Salah celebration, they will come back and hit our areas. That is Dong, Lawaru, Bolon, and the Bali areas. In Dowaya itself, 17 people were killed.
The wounded are said to have been taken to a private hospital for medical attention.
Definitely, they brought 7 patients to us. So, accidentally, 2 of them died.
The police command in Adamawa State is yet to confirm the incident. When Channels Television contacted the command's public relations officer, Othman Abubakar, his response was that he was yet to be briefed about the incident.
Also in Kaduna State, police authorities have confirmed the death of at least 5 people and 8 others injured following an attack by suspected bandits in Kuriga village. The community is located along the Beningwari-Kaduna Road in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The armed bandits were also said to have carted away over 80 cows from the villagers who are predominantly herders and farmers. According to spokesman for the Kaduna State Police Command, Mukhtar Aliyu, The gunmen stormed the village on Friday afternoon, opened fire on worshippers inside a mosque while they were observing their prayers. The police spokesman said the bandits fled into a nearby bush before the arrival of security operatives, also saying that a combined team of soldiers as well as mobile policemen have launched a manhunt for the bandits. Meanwhile, at least 5 people are reported to have been killed and 6 others injured in a nighttime attack on Tukushe village by suspected Boko Haram insurgents. A male suicide bomber was said to have detonated his explosives among a group of residents. The blast was followed by indiscriminate gunfire by jihadists lurking in the dark. The Tungeshi resident adds that the attackers torched 8 houses and 3 vehicles before stealing about 100 cows. Suicide attacks have increased in Borno State recently, prompting the military commander fighting the jihadists to offer a 5 million naira reward for information on bomb-making factories in the region. On June the 16th, 6 young girls killed 43 people in suicide attacks in the town of Damboa, 80 kilometers outside Maiduguri. On Wednesday, 15 people were injured when 2 female suicide bombers targeted a market on the edge of a military base in the city. Well, aside the pockets of attacks in remote villages of Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states, suicide explosions account for most deaths within the theater of the counter-insurgency operations. This year alone, more than 200 people have died in separate suicide attacks across the 3 states, with Borno State recording the highest casualty. Worried by the rising cases of these attacks, the theater commander of Operation Lafia Dole has announced a 5 million naira bounty on information that could lead to the discovery of bomb-making factories anywhere in the northeast.
Suicide bombing in Nigeria was introduced by Boko Haram insurgents terrorizing the country's northeast in the wake of overwhelming firepower from the Nigerian military. The first ever suicide attack in Borno State happened in 2014 at Muna Garage, a satellite community near the capital city. And since then, the insurgents seem to have mastered the act, improving in frequency. From displaced people's camps to marketplaces, military formations, and even residential homes, death appears to lurk everywhere. Perpetrators of the killings, who are mostly female minors, are often brainwashed into believing they are working for a noble cause. But some Islamic clerics in Maiduguri have divorced such acts from Islam, challenging the masterminds to step forward and point out where the Quran enjoins them to kill others.
Whoever kills a believer intentionally, his recompense in the hereafter is hell. A person that has not offended you, even in human laws, you do not take such a person to the court. A judge does not throw you in prison until he knows what your offense is.
The protracted insurgency has left many children orphaned and homeless, making them ready-made raw materials for insurgents to feed with dangerous ideologies. 13-year-old Fatima fell victim of the insurgents in a village around Damboa local government area of Borno State after her parents were killed. Fatima and a few other vulnerable girls had refused to be married off to older men, an action said to have infuriated the terrorists, who then decided to strap them with person-borne IEDs and send them off without food for a suicide mission in Maiduguri.
Some women kitted me up with the explosives. I didn't know what it was until they had finished. They sent 4 of us to Maiduguri and they taught me how to operate it. I didn't use mine because killing others is a bad thing to do. They said if we do what they sent us, we will go to heaven.
Fatima has since surrendered herself to federal authorities and is now in protective custody, out of the reach of those who want her dead. A Maiduguri-based psychologist suggests the possible mindset of an average carrier of a person-born IED.
How people felt slighted in a way. They feel disenfranchised, they feel that they have not been taken into consideration. So the only way to voice out their displeasure is just to kill themselves and in the process inflicting maximum casualty on the people.
The suicide attacks have also been a major challenge to the military. The commander of the Operation Lafia Dole, Major General Rogers Nicholas, speaks on attacks and soft targets.
The enemy within is always greater than the enemy outside in asymmetric warfare. So they live with us, and it's easier to easily make these bombs and strap somebody up and then detonate it.
The military strongly believes there are bomb-making factories around communities that have to be found and neutralized.
Well, we are joined now on the news at 10 by a member of the Institute of National Transformation, also a convener Discovery for Youth Conference. He's also a psychologist, Mr. Lawrence Onoje. Good to have you on the news at 10.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
In general terms, how would you describe the state of mind of the child in the Northeast?
Well, like the other person said earlier on, the average child or young person out there feels completely disconnected from what is happening in the society. And the reality is that when anyone feels like they don't have a stake in any community, consciously or unconsciously, they give themselves towards destroying it or not making any visible contribution towards developing it. And that's what's happening there. Those young men and women, those boys and girls, don't feel like they have a stake in the nationhood or the nation Nigeria. They don't feel like they have a stake in the community. So naturally, whatever comes, whoever offers them anything, they are good to go.
The trend of suicide bombing appears to be increasing, especially in the Northeast. Stats has it, January 2017, 83 children were used as human bombs. This is from the UN's Children's Fund. 55 girls, 27 boys. Even a baby was strapped to a girl at a point in time. Why would you say terrorists have been using children?
Well, because naturally, you hardly suspect children. Naturally, you hardly suspect children. So children become very vulnerable. Children and then young and youth generally, they are more vulnerable because number one, you can hardly suspect them. Then number two, these young people can be easily bought over. Many of them live in families where they are not fed. They cannot afford to be fed. Their parents don't have a means of livelihood. So whoever offers them food is called a mutual aid syndrome. Whoever offers them food would most likely buy their loyalty. So the psychology of poverty. That's right.
But we've also found some people who are well-to-do in the family also being indoctrinated to carry out terrorist
those ones
attacks.
are moved by ideals and ideologies. That hardly happens in a nation like Nigeria because there are various factors that inspire people to commit to being radicalized. In those nations where that kind of thing happens, people are moved mainly by the need to overcome suppression by an invading government or an oppressive foreign government. But in the case of Nigeria, that's not the case. The major factor why young people are co-opted into this thing, one of the major factors is poverty and illiteracy.
Half a second, if you can. Yeah. I mean, half a minute, 30 seconds. Okay. What do you think we can do to reintegrate children who have managed to even escape from them?
I think that the government can do a whole lot, as well as the private sector and the faith movement. And one of the things we can do is to organize systematic, strategic reorientation program using not just the former conventional school system, using local government, using faith-based institutions and organizations where some of these people are radicalized, co-opting the imams and all that, empowering them basically to empower these folks. Right. Once they are empowered, once the average young person there is empowered, I mean, the tendency towards being radicalized is marginalized.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence Onoje, for joining us on the News at 10.
My pleasure.
In part two, after the break, All Progressives Congress, APC, holds National Convention in Abuja as party affirms former Governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, as its new national chairman. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.